Okay, let's talk about surveying. I would like you guys to get some background knowledge on surveying before our next class meeting. That's why you're watching this. Please make sure you know, I'm going to breeze through this and you can pause and get this information. Please make sure you know the difference between a geodetic survey and a plane survey. I'd also like you to make sure you know these four types of surveys before you move on. Basically, we are doing surveys to establish horizontal and vertical position points to serve for a lot of reasons. For home building, for property descriptions. Property surveys establish a property for use for a lot, so you know the difference. It's a legal document, so you know the difference between your property and your neighbor's property and the city property. Let's talk about benchmarks. These are permanent marks that you've seen them probably, you just don't know what they are. These can be found on the street, in sidewalks, even on the peaks of mountains. They are a permanent mark of a known elevation and a known latitude and longitude. Okay, the equipment we're going to be using, we'll be using a leveling rod, we'll be using a tripod, and we'll also be using what's called an auto level. I'll go over more of the specifics of how this guy works in class, but that's the exact one that we're going to be using. Okay, reading the rod. You have a horizontal crosshair that determines elevation. You have a stadia hairs, and upper and lower stadia hairs that determine how far an object is away from you. And you'll notice in the circle, first thing I'd like you to notice is the number 5. So that means 5 feet high, or not necessarily 5 feet high, but it's 5 feet. And the little hatch marks are how we're going to determine how many inches this object either is away from you or its elevation. So, for example, the upper stadia is 5.30. The upper part, hopefully this is showing up on the video, where that little red dot is. The upper mark of each hatch mark is even, and the underside is odd. So right here would be 2.9 or 5.29, and right here that's how we get 5.30, and then this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. The rod reading is 5.25. Again, we know it's 5 because of this red 5, and 5.2, and we can count up from, here's 5.20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the same thing goes for 5.20 for the lower stadia. So let's jump into a scenario. Here's just some more practice. Imagine that you are you're surveying. You have one of those benchmarks behind you, and it has a known elevation of 350 feet. Okay, this again is just showing our benchmark. It's showing where we currently are. Let's move into the chart. This is often called backsight. So you're sighting back behind you to a known elevation. In this case, we read our rod and it was 7.59 feet. We add that to our known elevation, and that's how we got 357.59. Remember, this was known. We knew that this was 350 feet in elevation. Okay, so this is what your chart looks like. Here's the point that you're on, backsight. HI stands for height of instrument. Front sight or foresight, elevation, top, bottom, stadia, and distance. So our first reading is called our benchmark. We looked on the benchmark and we could physically actually see that it was 350 feet in elevation. We did a backsight and we read our rod, and it was 7.59. We add that to our elevation. That's how we got 357.59. We also read our top and bottom stadia. We took the difference of those times 100. It was 52 feet away. So the height of our instrument is 357.59 feet, and it was 52 feet away from our known elevation. So then,
You're right.
okay, sorry, I got sidetracked. Here we go. Okay, foresight. We're going to we're just going to simply turn our instrument around. Someone is out here with the rod, and we want to find this point of interest. Okay, so we read the rod, and we read that it was 2.36 feet. We also read, that's our elevation. We also read our upper and lower stadia. So there's no foresight on the benchmark, right? So we'll put point A and call it point 1, whatever. There's no backsight, and we already know the height of our instrument. Don't forget the level hasn't moved. We haven't moved the level at all. All we did was swing around towards our next point, in this case point A. So we read our rod. Our rod says 2.36. We subtract these two numbers. That's how we know the elevation of that point of interest. We also read our top and bottom stadia. Subtract those times 100. That particular point is 35 feet away. That's about it. Then you just keep going. So let's see. Looks like they're going to do another one, point B. We read our rod, 4.17. Again, subtraction right here. Subtract these two, 353.42. Read our top and bottom stadia, and it happened to be 47 feet away. And point C is the same. And let me go back to one picture I want to show you. That picture from above. There we go. So we did 3 points. We did a backsight to our benchmark, and then we did points A, B, and C. This could be it could be a lot of things. It could be the corner of some property that we're trying to outline. Obviously those lines would be straight, and these 1, 2, 3 might represent 3 corners of the property, and maybe you'd have a fourth. We call it point D out here, which would just be done in the same manner. Okay, that's leveling. Make sure you understand those basics before class next time, and then we can get down to doing some actual surveying in class.